Starship is a fully reusable spacecraft and rocket system under development by SpaceX, designed to be used for different purposes in the future, including crewed missions to the Moon and Mars, as well as satellite deployment, cargo transport, and even point-to-point travel on Earth. So far, different Starship prototypes were launched during 10 test flights, only one of them being an orbital test with a fully stacked rocket. Let's take a look at the history and evolution of Starship. In 2007, Elon Musk made a public announcement expressing his ambition to use SpaceX as a means to explore and establish human presence on Mars. In October 2012, Musk talked about his intentions to create a completely reusable rocket system, which would have significantly enhanced capabilities compared to SpaceX's existing Falcon 9. This new launch vehicle was originally referred to as the Mars Colonial Transporter, or Mass Cargo Transport, aka MCT. As per SpaceX plans, the MCT was designed to include reusable rocket engines, launch vehicles, and space capsules, all working together to facilitate the transportation of humans to Mars and their return to Earth. Starting from 2018, the second stage of the rocket was renamed to Starship, and booster stage started to be called Super Heavy. In 2019, SpaceX started using the term Starship system to describe the combination of Starship and Super Heavy. The initial prototype, known as Starhopper, conducted multiple static fire tests and 2 low-altitude flights. Subsequently, 7 upper-stage prototypes of Starship underwent flight testing from August 2020 to May 2021. The final prototype among these, a full-size Starship labeled as SN-15, accomplished a successful landing after reaching an altitude of 10 kilometers, and a full-scale orbital test flight of the entire rocket occurred on April 20th, 2023, making Starship the largest and most powerful rocket ever flown, surpassing the thrust capabilities of NASA's Space Launch System and the iconic Saturn V and the Soviet N-1. This marked a significant milestone in the field of rocketry. The rocket comprises 2 primary components: the Super Heavy, which serves as the first stage booster, and the Starship, which functions as the second stage spacecraft. These components are propelled by the Raptor and Raptor vacuum engines. Both stages of the rocket are constructed from stainless steel, providing Starship with the structural integrity required for atmospheric re-entry and giving it a distinctive appearance. The manufacturing process starts by unrolling multiple rolls of steel, followed by cutting and welding along the cut edge to produce cylindrical sections. These cylindrical sections, in addition to the nose cones, are then stacked and welded together along their edges to create the outer shell of the rocket. Within this structure, the methane and oxygen tanks are separated by domes that are made by robots. Very first Starship prototype that was tested in a low-altitude flight was Starhopper. After passing tanking tests, wet dress rehearsals, pre-burner tests, and a static fire test, in 2019, on July 25th, a test flight of the Starhopper hopped approximately 20 meters of altitude. And this was followed by another test on August 27th, which reached a height of 150 meters. The second flight also marked the first operational use of the Raptor engines in flight. The test vehicle then successfully landed about 100 meters away from the launch pad. Following the last launch, Starhopper was repurposed as a water tank and used at the production facility. Alongside with working on Starhopper, SpaceX was already constructing the first full-size Starship Mk-1 in 2018 and Mk-2 upper stage prototypes, but neither of them flew. While Mk-4 prototype was scrapped just like Mk-1, Mk-2 and Mk-3 were destroyed during certain tests. After the Mk prototypes, SpaceX adopted a new name for its Starship upper stage prototypes, using the prefix SN, which stands for serial number. It's worth noting that none of the prototypes with serial numbers between SN1 and SN4 were flown. SN3 collapsed during pressure stress tests, and SN4 exploded after its 5th engine firing. The initial flight-ready Starship, SN5, had a cylindrical shape with no flaps or nose cone. It was equipped with a single Raptor engine, fuel tanks, and a mass simulator. On August 5th, 2020, SN5 conducted a successful flight, reaching an altitude of 150 meters, and skillfully landed on a nearby pad. SN6 of the Starship prototypes lifted off from the launch pad located at SpaceX's facility in Boca Chica, Texas. It ascended gradually to an altitude of approximately 150 meters, and subsequently executed a controlled landing, touching down on a concrete area in close proximity to the launch pad. Both SN5 and SN6 models were later scrapped. Starship SN7 served as a compact prototype tank, specifically engineered for assessing a novel steel alloy. This prototype underwent 2 deliberate tests until it reached an unprecedented level of pressure during the second trial, ultimately resulting in its structural failure. SN8 marked a significant milestone as the fully assembled Starship upper stage prototype. Prior to its flight on December 9, 2020, it underwent a series of 4 initial static fire tests. During its flight, SN8 ascended to an altitude of 12.5 kilometers, while sequentially shutting down its 3 engines. However, upon its descent, SN8 encountered a challenge as its engines were affected by reduced methane header tank pressure during the landing attempt, resulting in a forceful impact with the landing pad. On February 2, 2021, Starship SN9 lifted off on a flight reaching an altitude of 10 kilometers, along a trajectory similar to SN8. Unfortunately, during the landing phase, the prototype encountered a mishap as one of its engines failed to ignite correctly, resulting in a crash and exploding on landing just like SN8. Approximately a month later, on March 3rd, Starship SN10 followed a comparable flight path to SN9. However, SN10 experienced a hard landing that damaged its landing legs, causing it to tilt to one side. Observers also noticed a fire at the base of the vehicle. Tragically, less than 10 minutes after landing, SN10 exploded, likely due to a rupture in one of the propellant tanks. On March 30th, Starship SN11 embarked on a flight that took it into dense fog, following a trajectory similar to previous flights. Unfortunately, during its descent, the vehicle experienced an explosion, which could have been caused by an excess of propellant in one of the Raptor engine's methane turbopumps. Prototypes SN12, SN13, and SN14 of the Starship were abandoned before reaching completion, with SN15 being chosen to proceed instead. SN15 featured notable improvements in avionics, structure, and upgraded engines. On May 5, 2021, SN15 was launched and executed the same flight maneuvers as its predecessors, ultimately landing safely. Despite experiencing a small fire in the engine area after landing, similar to SN10, it was successfully extinguished, marking the completion of the first high-altitude test that achieved its objectives. However, SN15 was retired by the end of the month and was scrapped in 2023. Models between SN16 and 19 were either scrapped or never completed. In summer 2021, SpaceX changed their naming scheme from SN to Ship for Starship crafts, and from BN to Booster for Super Heavy boosters. Also starting from Ship 20 to Ship 23 prototypes were scrapped, and some parts of Ship 23 was reused for Ship 24. As of December 2022, the plan was for Ship 24 to conduct an orbital test flight atop Booster 7. Ship 24 was initially observed in November 2021 and underwent 3 cryogenic proof tests in 2022. After that, Starship 24 conducted spin prime tests. It underwent a static fire test with just 2 engines on August 9, 2022. On September 8, 2022, Ship 24 underwent a static fire test in which all 6 of its engines, including 3 sea-level and 3 vacuum engines, were subjected to an 8-second test. Unfortunately, this test resulted in damage or destruction of approximately 30 of its 25,000 ceramic tiles. Following the test, the ship underwent necessary repairs and was subsequently stacked on top of Booster 7 in late October. Booster 7 and Ship 24 successfully lifted off on April 20th, marking the first orbital flight test. This flight experienced challenges as 3 engines were disabled before liftoff, and several more engines shut down during the ascent, resulting in the vehicle reaching a maximum altitude of only 39 kilometers. During the flight, the spacecraft encountered hydraulic control issues with the Raptor engines, leading to unplanned cartwheeling maneuvers. Approximately 3 minutes after liftoff, a command was sent to activate the automated flight termination system, but this system failed to destroy the vehicle. The rocket continued to tumble for another 40 seconds, before ultimately exploding. Starship achieved a historic milestone by surpassing the record for the most powerful rocket stage ever launched. This record had been held for the previous 50 years by the Soviet N-1 rocket, until Starship's flight. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, conducted an investigation into that flight and concluded their investigation on September 8th. In their findings, the FAA identified 63 corrective actions that SpaceX must undertake to prevent a recurrence of such mishaps. The FAA's investigation is not merely a theoretical exercise. It holds practical significance because the FAA issues launch licenses, and SpaceX must adhere to the findings to proceed with future Starship launches. According to Musk, the company is well prepared to comply with these requirements. Although a specific launch date for Flight 2 has not been announced by SpaceX, Musk has indicated that it can occur promptly once the FAA grants the necessary launch license. As of the latest available information, this regulatory clearance has not yet been confirmed. Elon Musk has indicated that the objectives for the second Starship flight will be similar to the first one. SpaceX's goal is to send the vehicle's upper stage on a trajectory that takes it partway around Earth, with the intention of achieving a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean near Hawaii. Do you think Starship can be the vehicle that will take humanity further in space? Let us know what you think about Elon Musk's Mars plans. Here's a video you might want to watch if you're interested in space exploration.